this iMac from 2017, which is officially unsupported, is running the latest macOS Sequoia Beta without any problems. Welcome to JSE's Flying, and in this video I'd like to show you how I managed to install and run the latest macOS Sequoia Beta on this unsupported iMac 2017, and let's try the same on the MacBook Pro 2016 and the MacBook Pro 2015. And then we can see how far the developers of the OpenCore Legacy Patcher are already with supporting Sequoia on all these old officially unsupported Macs. But before we do that, a word of warning. That is all beta software. macOS Sequoia is still beta, and OpenCore Legacy Patcher obviously is not even in a beta stage, because the developers are constantly evolving, developing and tuning their OpenCore Legacy Patcher to enable those unsupported Macs with macOS Sequoia when it will be released. So please only do that with a Mac you have as a spare machine, not your daily driver, your workhorse, your music production machine or whatever. Don't do this. It can break anytime, any day. When you do that and maybe the developers just changed something, you download the latest version and it doesn't boot and it breaks your installation. So this is only for playing around with a Mac you don't need for serious work, okay? Second, if you like the OpenCore Legacy Patcher, please support the developers. With Open Collective, they have a website where you can just donate a small amount of money or like a recurrent payment every month, or just whatever you are willing to give. But please support the developers for that curious piece of software that just prolongs the life of all our old unsupported, officially unsupported Macs. And maybe just support my channel by subscribing and clicking the bell for notifications so you don't miss any new updates, any new videos, and help me grow my channel a little bit. If you have some questions or comments, drop me a comment below the video or join my Discord server. Link is also down in the video description and pinned as the first comment. There is nearly 2,500 people on my Discord server discussing and helping each other, and everyone who is already on that Discord server, thank you so much for that great community. So first, let's start with the OpenCore Legacy Patcher and a quick overview what you have to download. This is the GitHub repository of the OpenCore Legacy Patcher, and when you want to use the latest official one, you just go down here with releases, and here you can just download the latest version 1.5.0. When you go down here, there's the change log, and then you have the assets. You just download the OpenCore-Patcher-GUI app zip, install it, everything works. But that is only for the latest macOS Sonoma or Ventura or Monterey or Big Sur, but not for Sequoia. And if we go back to the previous page, you can see that here in the top left corner, that is the main branch. Obviously, when we click here, there is a branch that is called Sequoia Development. When we open that, it nearly looks the same, but for instance, here in the top, you can see this branch is 45 commits ahead of the main commit, the main branch. What is a commit? Every time a developer makes a change, it just commits to the GitHub repository, so that file or that part of the file is newer than the rest. Now we want to download this latest version of the OpenCore Legacy Patcher. How we do that? We do that in the terminal. So let's go down in the terminal. The first command we need is a git command that just says download that repository on that computer. When you do that, you either need Xcode, the development software installed, or it will ask you to just download the Xcode developer tools. That is about a 700 megabyte download. It will do that automatically, install it, and then the git command should work. So the first command looks a little bit complicated, but it's not. Git means GitHub, okay? Clone means download the following repository. -b means which branch should you download. And here the branch is Sequoia Development, as we just saw on the website. And then it just needs the address of the GitHub repository, and that is github.com/Dortania/OpenCore Legacy Patcher. Don't worry, all the commands are also down in the video description. If we say that, it just starts cloning the repository, which means it's downloading the repository. This is about 500 something megabytes, so it might take a while depending on your internet connection. So when this is done, we need 2 more files to download from the GitHub repository from Dortania. One is the support package for the OpenCore Legacy Patcher, and the other is a kernel debug kit. Oh, what's that all for? Okay, the support package are some additional files the patcher needs. Basically, it's a package where all the drivers that are installed via the root patch are in, and we need the latest version that is not in that GitHub repository. So we go back to the website, and then we click here on Dortania, and then we are at the main repository of them. We've just been to the OpenCore Legacy Patcher, but as you can see, there are some more. And when we go down here a little bit, we see the KDK support package. So let's open this in a new tab. And we see the Patcher support package. We also open this in a new tab. And first, let's go to the Patcher support package. And we can just go down here with releases, and you can see the version 1.7.1 is the latest as I record this video. That is only 3 days ago. You can see that over here. We just download the universal binaries DMG file. Okay, let me just download this. Allow. Yes, we want to download. Then we opened up the KDK support package. The KDK is a kernel debug kit from Apple, but you can only download it basically when you're a developer. And the files in that package are needed for the OpenCore Legacy Patcher to install the drivers into the macOS kernel. That's the kernel debug kit. And so Dortania just keeps track of all the KDK packages from Apple and just lists this here on this GitHub repository. So we go to releases, and now we have to check what macOS Sequoia Beta we are installing. You will later see when we start the OpenCore Legacy Patcher, when I show you how to download the Sequoia Beta, that the version numbering is also directly when you download it. You can see it and you can just write it down. Okay, we go to downloads, and here you can see the kernel debug kit, and here you can see the universal binaries DMG file. So first of all, simple, we just install the kernel debug kit. We do a double click. It will open it. Then we have the package file. We do a double click here, and we install this to the machine. We agree to the software licenses. We say install, we enter the password, and the kernel debug kit just installs about 4 gigabytes into your macOS. While this is copying, let's go to the Patcher support package. That is the file universal binaries here. We just say copy, and we go into the home folder that's here, in this case iMac 2017, and there you can see there is a folder OpenCore Legacy Patcher. That was created when we downloaded the GitHub repository. So we just go in here and we paste the item in here. As we did that, the installer of the KDK finished. We say close. Maybe we keep the file. That is fine. So now we are done with that. We can close all the windows here, and we are back in the terminal. Now there's one more step, as Apple always says. We need to install the privileged helper tool. Okay, that's the last technical thing, I promise. The OpenCore Legacy Patcher has a tool that will be privileged with root access, so with access writing files once with your password, so you are not annoyed all the time with entering your password when the OpenCore Legacy Patcher does something in the background. That is installed into your libraries folder on your Mac, and we have to do that. But as this tool has root access to your hard disk, to your files, it has to be secured that not any other tool or any other virus can just give this tool some commands and it will do the commands without asking you for your password. And so this needs a signature from the OpenCore Legacy Patcher, and the privileged helper tool will only accept commands from the OpenCore Legacy Patcher with that signature and from no other software. But right now, as we are using a developer version, we don't want that tool to require a signature as a signed OpenCore Legacy Patcher because we don't have a signed OpenCore Legacy Patcher. We have just an in-between version of it. Long story short, we will create a debug version of that privileged helper tool and install that. But again, this makes it insecure, okay? Any other tool or any other virus or whatever could assume that this tool is there and try to give that tool commands, and it will do the commands without asking for your password. So again, that should only happen on a Play Mac, okay, where you can just play around with that beta. Okay, let's do that. So the first command, we have to go into the OpenCore Legacy Patcher folder. There we are. When we type ls, and as I said, all the commands down in the video description, when we type ls, we see the contents of that folder, and now we go into the folder CI tooling. And in that folder, we go into the subfolder privileged helper tool. And when we see the contents of that folder, there are only 4 files in there: makefile, readme, install, and main. And what we do now, we say make debug, and it creates a debug version of that privileged helper tool. Dortania OpenCore Legacy Patcher privileged helper is now a debug version. And then we just say sudo super user do, and now we have to enter the password. This is the only thing we enter the password, and that will install the tool that always have access and doesn't require the password all the time. Sudo bash install sh. Now it requires a password, and now it's installed. There's no confirmation, nothing. The tool is installed. And now we are more or less ready to go. We just go back to the main OpenCore Legacy Patcher folder. We have to do one more step. The OpenCore Legacy Patcher is a Python software. It's written in the language Python. So we have to install Python on the Mac. Therefore, we can just go to the website python.org, and when you go to downloads, you go to macOS. There you can see all the downloads for macOS, and you just choose the latest stable release, macOS 64-bit universal installer Python 3.12.5 as I record that video. We just download that installer, just install that to your Mac, and the OpenCore Legacy Patcher should be able to run. The OpenCore Legacy Patcher maybe needs some specific Python add-ons, and therefore there is a Python installer, pip 3, it's called Python installer package version 3. And then we want to say install -r requirements, and they are defined in the file requirements.txt. When we do that, it will check the file which requirements are required by the OpenCore Legacy Patcher and will install that into the Python folder. As you can see here, it always says requirement already satisfied, as I already did that. So if we now just type Python 3, and the file we need is the OpenCore-Patcher-GUI, that means graphical user interface.command, there is the latest OpenCore Legacy Patcher They call it a nightly build, so that's not an official release 1.6.0, but from the macOS Sequoia development branch, because we chose that when we downloaded it. When you go down here to create macOS installer and you say download macOS installer, that is just 2 days ago. There was another beta, so that is already newer than the beta I have installed here on the iMac last Sunday on the live stream. And there you see the number 24A5327A. When you download the KDK, you remember you need that number, that versioning number, to have the appropriate KDK installed. Before you start updating, obviously, you need to build and install OpenCore. It will create the OpenCore. You say install to disk, then you choose your hard disk and you just install this to your Mac. Maybe if you don't know how to do that, here is my ultimate and easiest tutorial how to install macOS Sonoma. Everything is explained there in detail. So I installed the latest OpenCore Legacy Patcher Sequoia version, rebooted, then downloaded the macOS Sequoia Beta and just started the installer. On the MacBook Pro here, I created a USB drive with the latest OpenCore Legacy Patcher Sequoia version and with the Sequoia Beta, and installed the update from the USB drive. That's also possible. All the details either in the live stream or in my tutorial. But right now we want to check if the root patches work. And so here on the iMac, the post-install root patch, you can see available patches for your system, networking, modern wireless, and last patched with version 1.6.0. I did that already here on the iMac, and the Wi-Fi obviously is working because otherwise we wouldn't have any internet connection. All right, now let's see if we can install the root patches on those two MacBooks to see if we can enable all the hardware and have all the drivers available. What kind of MacBooks are they? As I had the iMac 2017, I chose a MacBook Pro 2016, and 1 year older, that's the MacBook Pro 2015. And just a quick rundown what I already did. At first, downloaded the GitHub repository of the OpenCore Legacy Patcher of the branch Sequoia development. Then, as Xcode wasn't installed on those MacBooks, it asked for the command line tools, downloaded them and installed them. Second, I downloaded the patcher support package and copied into the OpenCore Legacy Patcher folder. Third, I created the debug version of the privileged helper tool and installed it into the library. Fourth, I downloaded Python to be able to run the OpenCore Legacy Patcher. Fifth, I started the OpenCore Legacy Patcher and installed the OpenCore to the boot disk, then rebooted. So that's the first moment of truth if it is rebooting still with macOS Sonoma installed. That was all before the update. As this was successful, I then went into the OpenCore Legacy Patcher and downloaded the Sequoia Beta. Check the version number, and I also downloaded and installed the corresponding KDK package. As everything was downloaded and done, I just started the Sequoia Beta and let it run and let it update. There were some reboots and it took a while, about an hour, and then both of them started up with macOS Sequoia. As you can see, maybe here the background is all white. There's no background picture, no desktop picture, because there's no graphic acceleration. And the required root patches for the MacBooks, for the MacBook Pro 2016, is at first Intel Skylake. That's the family of the Intel CPU that is in here, including the integrated graphics unit, the iGPU. Second is AMD Legacy Graphics Core Next, because this one here has a dedicated graphics card, an AMD Radeon Pro 460. So it would need drivers for this as well. Then modern wireless, that was the same patch that was required for the iMac, so the Wi-Fi will work. And this one is a MacBook Pro with a T1 security chip. So the drivers for that T1 chip that were dropped already by Apple with Ventura have to be reinstalled so that Touch ID and everything else works. On the MacBook Pro 2015, same modern wireless drivers missing, no Wi-Fi, but this is one generation older CPU. So the MacBook Pro 2015 needs Intel Broadwell drivers and also for the integrated graphics unit, that is, there is no graphic acceleration. And the third root patch that the MacBook Pro 2015 needs is the FaceTime camera that is internally connected via PCI Express. So that is the third root patch. I cannot record the screen because as there's no graphic acceleration, it always breaks. So I can just show you some screenshots of the root patching so you can see what happens on the screen. And otherwise, let's start the root patching. I never did that before, so it's premiere. And let's start the MacBook Pro 2016. When I said start root patching, at least it says patcher is capable of patching. Now it's merging the KDK that I have installed so that it is able to install the AMD Radeon graphic drivers. It's patching everything, looks good, no error message yet. It just installs all the root patches. Installing, and that looks awesome. Now it's rebuilding boot and system kernel collections. Looks pretty promising. That might take a while. And now let's start the MacBook Pro 2015. If maybe this root patching also works. All right. So the MacBook Pro 2016 has not had any error and it's now asking to reboot. The MacBook Pro 2015, oh, I didn't click that correctly, also says patcher is capable of patching. It is installing patches. This doesn't need the KDK as there's no AMD graphic card. KDKs are more or less only for the AMD graphic driver stack. It just says, okay, there's a system extension updated. We can just click this away. It says building new auxiliary kernel collection and is ready for reboot. So that looks promising. Now let's reboot both of them, but let me just do a screenshot first so you can see that later in the video. Reboot, and also here, reboot. Now let's see if both will boot again, because we now change drivers in the macOS kernel. There is the OpenCore boot selector, that looks good. But now let's see if they will get to the login screen of macOS Sequoia, because when there's some problems with the drivers that are not finished yet, maybe they are, maybe they are not, they're not tested yet, they're in the development. I don't know if that will work. There might be one driver that breaks all the things and just gets a kernel panic or prevents the MacBook to boot. Whoa, at least the MacBook Pro 2016 booted. Let's just see. The first indication would be that we would have Wi-Fi. And the MacBook Pro 2015 also booted. And that looks also promising because we have a background screen that might indicate we have the graphic acceleration. But the first indication will be that we have Wi-Fi, and with the MacBook Pro 2016 we do have Wi-Fi and it is connected. That looks quite promising. We also do have a background screen, and we do have, let's load, it's a little bit, yeah, we do have Wi-Fi also. And so that looks quite promising that we have another 2 MacBook Pros with a macOS Sequoia Beta installed, very much not officially supported. So let's see if there's some graphic acceleration. So as you can see, graphic acceleration works. This is the demo video of the iPhone in the Safari browser, and in the Video Pro Converter, when you check the graphic acceleration features, the MacBook Pro 2016 with a dedicated graphics card can do H264 and HEVC. The MacBook Pro 2015 also can handle H264 but cannot handle HEVC, but that is due to the only internal Intel graphics card. So that was the same situation with Sonoma or Ventura. But as you can see, you can browse very fluently. There's no problem at all. Both have Wi-Fi connection, internet, and I will continue testing all the Macs that I have here, and will continue the Macs that I have already updated to Sequoia Beta for a more in-depth feature, like if the Touch ID works, at least the touch bar works without any problems. And I will give you an update about all the other Macs, especially the Mac Pros 2012 and 2013. So if you haven't yet, I strongly recommend you subscribe my channel, click the bell for notifications so you don't miss these videos. And by the way, yes, I'm still working on that video about updating the Mac Pro cheese grater. As I said, the 20K special live stream and the Sequoia Beta video just came in between all the work of the other video, but that will also be released soon. So that looks very awesome, very promising that with the release of macOS Sequoia, there will be an OpenCore Legacy Patcher 2.0 or however they will call it, and that most of the unsupported Macs that are supported in Sonoma might be supported with Sequoia. Thank you so much for watching. As I said, give me comments below the video, join the Discord server community, share my video and my channel wherever you can, help me grow it a little bit. See you soon. Thank you so much. Bye bye.